You don't do anything unless you have it in writing with the government. It was tough. We had 2 horrible winters. We lost a Bobcat. They stole it, and they used it to move snow for their buddies. Either you go big or you go home.
There's nothing magic in what you just said. Like, if you want the work, go after the work.
I take it as a compliment that North Dakota has a member on the board. Let's go to Minnesota. Hunt Electric has a board member.
Thank you, Mr. President.
My.
Welcome to the Beyond the Breaker podcast.
Rod, one of the things that you and your team up that way, even before you became a part of the Hunt family, were good at doing was interfacing on federal government projects.
Yeah.
That's something that I'm not going to name names. We've struggled on. It's not always a great thing. They're different than private jobs. They're different than for-profit. They're just different. So take a couple minutes. Why don't you tell us a little bit about how and why you've been successful, maybe why those projects are a little bit different, and then, let's talk about where we go from there.
Well, on the government side, the government, it's a tough animal. Government contracting is tough. It's about relationships, but it's not. It's all about the buck, and it's all about following the specs, the FARs, Federal Acquisition Requisition, and you have to follow that really close. Buy American Act comes into play. There's different FARs that come into play constantly. So you have to keep up on that constantly. And government contracting made me, when I had mayor, a better contractor.
Mm-hmm.
It did.
Because it forced you to be detailed about all of your projects.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay.
You have to, the federal payroll reports are fine, but you have to, your drawings, your submittals, everything has to be to a T. And if it's not, they should turn it around, and some of them backcharge you. And that's typical now in the real world as well.
I've never actually heard that before. You get backcharged for a submittal that wasn't accurate or a drawing submission that wasn't up to snuff because they have to review it again?
They have to review it again. And if they review it, they give you like one shot, not 3 strikes are out, but one shot. Yeah. Then on the second go around, it's right in the specs that if they review it again, there could be possibly a backcharge.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And that's not a good way to start a relationship and a marriage on a job.
Yeah. Explain, what are some of these government jobs? What have you worked on in the past? What coming down in the future would somebody see as, okay, that's going to be a government contract? What kind of business is that like?
Well, the government jobs that we've done at the Minot Air Base, I've worked at the Grand Forks Air Force Base. I've worked at Malmstrom in Great Falls, Ellsworth. I teamed with a lot of Alaska Native corporations. And we did a lot of work in San Diego and Nassau down in Florida. We did a lot of work all over. But the difference on the it's just so you build relationships once again, but you don't. Mm-hmm. And trying to get the relationship built, and then you go on to another contracting officer, and they leave, and another one shows up. So it's not the old cliche. I hate this cliche. You build relationships and enrich lives. You don't. You don't.
What's the mindset and the approach there? Why?
Yeah. Why would you
decide that was the place where we needed to be successful and continue to succeed in it?
Well, in mine in North Dakota, I started mayor in 1985. Yep. And either I had my choice. Either I was going to, and there's nothing wrong with my next statement. Either I was going to replace paddle fans and do onesie-twosies, or it was my decision to grow the business and establish the business. And Minot has an Air Force base. And there's always, at that time, in 1985, keep in mind, interest rates were 16%.
Yeah.
The economy was horrible, but the Air Base seemed to have a lot of money. And there was always renovations, and it was built during the Cold War. In the early 60s, 1985, 25 years later, the buildings would start to dilapidate, so they remodeled a bunch of buildings. So it was my decision to start working out at the Minot Air Base. And once again, I'm going to repeat myself. It made me a better contractor. Yeah. It kept me on my toes. So it was I had my choice. There was no commercial work in town.
Sure.
So the other option was, either you go big or you go home. And I went big, and I decided to go into working for the government.
Yeah. And that was really the only option.
Didn't have a choice.
Locally. Yeah.
Didn't have a choice. Either that or I hit the road as a traveling union electrician. Yeah. And I had a 3-year-old at home, 2 or 3-year-old. David was, and that was my decision to stay home.
Yeah.
And it turned out well.
Yeah.
It turned out well for everybody. So there's the decision right there.
But as we look at what does the future of, all the hunt brands look like as we engage with federal and state level projects, can you give a couple of things that, I don't know, call it like a top 3? Like, here's some things that, we would do really well to train our PMs on, to help coach our BD team on, to think about differently with estimating as it relates to chasing that sort of work in the future?
Well, Hunt has a huge advantage. Not very many firms that do the volume that Hunt does that have the resource internally. Mm-hmm. And a lot of general contractors look at that. And they, a lot of firms that are coming in to do big government jobs. Mm-hmm. I would say in the state of North Dakota, in Western North Dakota, there's one contractor that's able to handle a major project of magnitude. Mm-hmm. And you have the PMs. Mm-hmm. You have the assistant PMs. You have your CAD people. You have your BIM people. You have your Rivet people. In Western North Dakota, that's unheard of still. It's kind of there. Yeah. It's kind of there, but it's really not yet.
Yeah.
So to answer your question,
how do we leverage that to move forward?
It's all about making calls. Yeah. It's all about I'll use the word Rolodex. In your guys' term, it's called a contact list, but in my term, it's a Rolodex. But it's all about that, and then then what you do is you get a hold of the potential people, or if you know of a big job coming up, you'll get a hold of the Cadells or the CH2M Hills or those big firms that I've worked with in the past that, hey, there's this huge project coming up. And there's a lot coming up in Minot at the Air Base. They're completely redoing those missile sites. Raytheon, L3 Communications, and I think Northrop and Bechtel, I think, are all involved in that renovation. It's a multi-billion-dollar project.
So, to overuse the phrase that I get teased about, like to say that back to you, what I'm hearing is a lot of, hey man, just pick up the phone, just talk to the people, keep your ears open, just keep pursuing that.
Watch the news.
Yeah. Well, like seriously, there was nothing magic in what you just said. Like if you want the work, go after the work, be persistent, be communicative.
It's just business.
Yeah. Pay attention.
Yeah. You have to pay and listen. Yes.
And then on the other side of it, I know that not every project we've ever done, this is going to shock some people, was financially successful for us. We've lost money on things, including some government projects. I know that there are folks within the company who are, I'm going to use the word scared, a little bit scared of maybe getting beat up on those. So if we're going to chase the work, cool. I think you've explained that well. If we're going to actually execute the work, what are maybe a couple of things that you'd say, if you really want to do this well, you got to behave like this. Again, I'm looking at how do we talk to our general foreman in the field doing the labor management? How do we talk to our PMs? How do we make sure that we're going to execute on those promises really well?
Well, I think the bottom line is, this may sound crude, but you don't do anything unless you have it in writing with the government. You don't do anything. You do not turn a screw unless you get it in writing. And is it going to hold up the job? And then you hear, don't worry about it. Just take care. We'll take care of it. No, that never works. We'll catch you later on the next. It never works. You can't. Yeah. You have to make sure before the job is even bid and you turn in your quote, you have to cover your basis on your quote.
Yeah.
We are including this and this. We are excluding this, and then you go over it with the GC before it hits the street. That here's what we're going to do. Here's what we're going to do. Acknowledge, concur, comply. Yes. Okay. And then make sure that that's all covered. And then during the job, your field people have to be engaged with the office. And you cannot have any conflict with the PMs in the office. You have to make sure that you're in total rhythm with the office. Yeah. And you can't do anything unless it's in writing, or else it just goes downhill. After that, it just does. So that's the case. How many times have I said, yeah, go ahead and do it, and then
you don't get paid for it.
No good deed goes unpunished. I hate that term, but it's the truth.
Yeah,
it's the truth.
Yeah,
and private sector's like that too, but a little bit. But there's a little more give and take on private sector.
That's where, and you talked about at the beginning, the private sector, that the relationship.
Yes,
there's backup there.
Yes,
right. But in what you just explained at the beginning, you build the relationship to start, but when it's done, just kind of done, right? You're not getting, you'll say bye, you'll shake hands, but in the sense of getting some back pay or whatever it may be,
Never.
No.
there's,
No.
like you said, there's no catching you on the next one.
No, there isn't, because the contracting officer will move on, either with the Corps of Engineers.
we're out of money. We
Defense.
spent it on that
They're
project,
gone,
we're out.
and there's no build relationships and rich lives with the government, because after the facility is done, the government takes over the maintenance. So if we plan on getting the maintenance work, no. The government's going to do the maintenance work.
Be dialed in on the initial.
Yeah, that's why you just have to grind for those jobs and just do your best, but you have to grind and make sure that you do a good job, but in return you got to look out for the best interests of your company as well. You know, you mentioned a couple other things you mentioned design build. There's been a lot of design build lately with the government and the inability for them to find qualified people. And I don't mean that in a derogatory sense. I mean that there's a lot of people that choose to work in the private sector instead of going to work for the government. And it's tough for them to find engineers. So there's a lot of design build, a lot of design assists that they turn out on the street. And that's somewhat been the trend the last 10 years. And what they do is they shortlist a group of contractors. You pick your team.
Yep.
Let's say Hunt picks a qualified general contractor they've worked for in the past, and then there's a qualified mechanical, and they turn a team in, and then it's not just low bid, but it's if you're qualified, past practices. You know, it's just like the private sector.
Yeah.
So the government
I'm glad to hear that.
Yeah, they are somewhat turning into a lot of design build, a lot of design assists.
Yeah. Okay.
And that's there's another strength that Hunt, I know, eventually will bring to the table on the base and on government work in North Dakota. I know they will.
Yeah.
Well, we're doing a border station in the Minot office is doing a border station in Dunseith, North Dakota. You talk about cold in the winter. It's 100 miles right on the border, 100 miles northeast of Minot.
Right on the Canadian border.
I think that's a design. I think it's a design assist.
Okay.
With McGough.
All right.
I think
I believe so.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool.
So I'd like to touch on, just because at the beginning you talked about traveling a little bit. What is, in your time of these government jobs, let's call it the most rewarding, the most memorable? What one sticks out the most to you as in, like, this is a special story to tell?
On government jobs?
Yeah.
The most memorable one is Mayor did a design build. I do believe it was 214 housing units at the Minot Air Base. It was a tough job. It was tough. We had 2 horrible winters. The theft on the job was horrible. We lost a skidder. We lost a Bobcat. I lost it for a year and a half, and I found it in an airman's garage. They stole it, and they used it to move snow for their buddies. And it was a horrible job. The liquidated damages for the GC was astronomical.
Wow.
Yeah.
I do believe, to the best of my knowledge, Mayor Electric at the time was the only subcontractor that finished the job. Everybody else got fired. Everybody else got dismissed.
Wow.
The GC was assessed a lot of liquidated damage dollars, and they went through project manager after project manager. It was a bad job.
Yeah.
What sticks out in the memory?
You ask about Mayor. Careful what you ask for.
It's
on
not
that
good
one.
memory always.
Yeah. So there's one right there. There's been several positive, good memory jobs out there that we've built relationships with. We finished a rifle range right before the buyout. It was just a wonderful job.
Yeah.
Firm out of Colorado. We came in. That was a design build.
Very
we came
good.
in and they were great to work for. They were fair. Hey, Rod, we got this change order. It's our mess up on the design build. Be fair with us on the change order. And then there was something that the material that was all during. Hey, do you guys remember the material that wouldn't show up after COVID because of the shortage of the breakers and all this and that? And it was just horrible.
Yeah.
In return, there was one of our vendors. There was just a long waiting list for the switchgear, and they knew it. And there were some LDs, and the GC said, "Hey, Rod, you know what? I know it's going to cost an extra $5,000 to get that stuff here in time. Don't worry about it. You took care of us on this.
Yeah.
We'll take care of you on this. Yeah. And it was a rifle range, the airmen going, and it was a great job.
Stealing Bobcats.
Well, that was the housing job. I couldn't believe I found that Bobcat.
Yeah.
I'm driving around base housing one day on the old housing. I'm going, that's our skidder. It has Mayer Electric written on it.
They didn't even cover up the name.
How dumb was that?
But they got that snow moved.
Just take a hairdryer and take and I'm going, oh my.
Rod, one of the other things I heard about you and Mayer and the Fit for Hunt was about, and it's a little departure from the government side, but it's still related. You're on the state electrical board for the state of North Dakota, correct?
Correct.
And as a guy who was never an electrician, I don't really know what the hell that is. I also understand that we have members of Hunt who are on the state electrical board for Minnesota. When we were talking about this episode, one of the points there was, how does Mayer impact the future of government jobs, of legislation, of making sure that we have, the right code in place? So maybe you can speak just a little bit about your involvement with the state electrical board, what the heck that is, how it helps you out, how it helps us all out, and shapes the future of the electrical industry in North Dakota.
Well, in North Dakota, I've sat on the state electrical board since 2009. And
That's a while now.
I got a call from Governor Hoeven at the time, and the state they were having some issues with the retention of employees, having some other issues here and there. And I know the governor. He's now a senator in Washington. I know him fairly well. And his office call says, Rod, we need some help. Are you interested in staying on the board? I said, yeah, I'll do it. And I didn't do it.
Did you grow up with this guy?
He went to high school with my wife.
Okay.
He's a Minot guy.
Yeah.
Okay. All roads lead to and from Minot. Okay.
You heard it here first, folks.
Exactly. Yeah. And so anyway, I thought about it, and you know what? I'm going to do it. And that was in 2009. And the more I was involved in this, I'm going, oh my, what? Careful what you ask for on that one as well, and wish for.
Okay.
So I got involved, I got engaged, and actually I enjoyed. My gut feeling and my true feeling is I thought I could give back to what the trade has given to me. Bottom line. Does that sound bad? Yeah, no. Kind of. Ugh. No. But it's the truth. I thought I could give back
to
what the industry has done to me.
But you've probably also had a general interest throughout your entire time in the industry of how this stuff happens. Like, well, here's a good opportunity to find out about it.
Yeah,
and be a part of it.
And for me, I've gotten involved in the legislative. I've gotten involved in the in how bills are created. Mm-hmm. And 10 years ago, they elected me as president. So I've been more and more engaged.
Should we be referring to you as Mr. President?
Well, I say President Mayer. Not Mayor, President Mayer.
Presidential.
But it's been a learning experience.
Yeah.
And I applaud our inspectors, and this was briefly mentioned prior. Our inspectors are to the point now where it's like an official in sports. They are seen and not heard. It's like a highway patrol. Highway patrol doesn't just pull you over to pull you over. Mm-hmm. So when these inspectors go to these jobs, they look at correction reports. If there's a correction report and they see something that is not within the code, they're going to give you a correction report. You're going to take care of it. And it's done. If you're going to fight it, can't fight City Hall, but if you're going to fight it, you're going to get the reputation of being, I hate this word, but being rogue.
Yeah.
And let's say a bad actor instead of rogue.
Sure.
So, being president, I've been involved with some of the bad actors. They take a job, they get half done, they do 20% of the job, then they take off and they bolt. They head to another. And we used to have an undertaking fund in North Dakota where there was money in there to finish the jobs, but that went away. So this next legislative session, I want to propose a bond where every contractor puts up a bond and has to get a bond. And then if you bolt, because you're a bad actor, the bond will take over, just like a bond on our jobs.
Yeah.
Same concept,
but like a
only
statewide performance bond.
Yeah, exactly. So for the state, I've been involved in legislative, been involved with some decisions that are made. Some are good, some are bad. Mm-hmm. And you go through some applicants of some not so good people that want to get licensed.
Yep.
And it hurts my heart to pull a license from someone that have not been good. And that it just tugs on my heart because this is their bread and butter. But then again, though, you were brought before the board for a reason, because speed limit is 80 miles an hour in North Dakota now. You go 81, 82, you're good. But going 105 and an 80, you're going to get picked up.
Yeah.
And that's the way it is with the state electrical board. You go 81, 82, it's a gray, but you get picked up for going 105 with the electrical board. You're going to meet before the board.
Yep.
Yeah.
And after 1 or 2 times, they're going to jack your license. So that's, one more thing about the board. I take it as a compliment that North Dakota has a member of Hunt Electric on the board. And then let's move over east.
Yeah.
Let's go to Minnesota. Hunt Electric has a board member.
It's a good footprint.
Oh, think about the compliment that is. In the 2 states, there's 2 Hunt people on each board.
Or
one Hunt people in North Dakota, 1 in Minnesota. I think that's great.
Or you guys were the suckers that said yes when everybody else said no.
Yeah, careful what you wish for.
Yeah,
There again.
The bad guys that just take licenses. So real quick, before we kind of wrap this stuff up, let's take us through a normal meeting in the sense of, what other decisions are made outside of taking licenses. You're voting as a board on what?
Yeah. You call the meeting to order and, you have a consent agenda. It's your typical blah, blah, blah. And consent agenda is the bills and all this. And, that's typical.
Sure.
And then you have the rogue people that get caught wiring without a license, and the inspectors run into a house and they see a bunch of wiring done and the person's non-licensed. So they get a cease and desist. And then after that's done, the attorney shows up. And then you meet with a lot of it's good stuff though. Time out. A lot of it's good stuff. A lot of it, the state electrical board, we have a surplus of money.
Yeah.
So what we're doing is we're giving the registered apprentices, each registered apprentice that gets over a 2.5 GPA, that's part of it. That's part of an apprenticeship program, JATC, IEC, whatever. If they graduate, or every year, if they complete the year and get above a 2.5, they get their books paid for, courtesy of the state of North Dakota.
That's cool.
That's good stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm just not talking bad stuff about the road people.
They're clearly not.
Right.
You got to be there for good stuff.
So,
too.
we approve apprenticeship programs with the state. We approved one at Bismarck State College last meeting a couple weeks ago.
That's great.
We approved the finances for the apprenticeship scholarship fund. That's the good stuff we do. And then, unfortunately there's some bad people, but that's this much. The good stuff is this much.
Yeah.
So that's the way our board in North Dakota, we just took in North Dakota and Wyoming were the only 2 states that did not have an inspection department for the elevators, which I was shocked. And we just took that in. The state electrical board is going to take in the inspections for the elevators. We're just writing the laws, going through the legislative council on that. We just took that in, and I do believe in February 26, we're going to move forward and put that in our policies and standards. And then we're going to have to hire a elevator inspector.
Yeah.
So,
now you guys will be able to have elevators in North Dakota. It'll be wonderful.
We're going to rise above everybody else and be the elevator inspector. Absolutely.
It's too windy there. They blow over on the second floor.
We don't have a lot of big buildings in North Dakota, but
sprawling.
Yeah, exactly.
Sprawling buildings.
So, Rod, we're almost out of time here. I've got a sneaky question in the back of my head like I usually do. But is there anything that you want to share with the field folks, with office folks who don't get to work with you in North Dakota on a regular basis? Anything you want to leave the listeners with?
This is going to sound mushy, but
I'm here for mushy, man.
The 39 years I had mayor was great. It was. I had a first date I had was February 18th, 2022 with John Axelson and Ron Somerville. And that was our first date. It was my birthday.
Ooh.
And
where'd they take you?
Oh my, they came to mine.
Oh, jeez.
No. I came here.
Okay.
I came here. And, I was 62 years. I'm 65, by the way. I don't know.
Congratulations.
But I'm 65. But here's what I'm getting at. The hunt culture and the hunt climate, I woulda, coulda, shoulda, but I wish that would have happened about 15 years ago. I really do.
Yeah.
I thoroughly enjoy I thoroughly enjoy getting up for work in the morning. How many people say that at age 65? I want to do it. I still have gas in the tank.
Yeah.
You know, I don't want to, I'm not there yet.
Yeah.
And so to answer your question, I'm kind of dancing around it. Just the culture and the climate here, you know, everybody gets up and, you know, I'm just going to take a second of your time. With some apprentices, every once in a while I had a problem with apprentices. I'd have them take a piece of paper and spell ACE for me, ACE. And an old baseball coach taught me this. Mitch Zielinski was his name. Just a crusty old coach.
Shout out, Mitch.
And it was attitude, concentration, effort spells ACE. If you get up in the morning, your attitude is good, you're going to be able to concentrate and you have great effort.
Yeah.
If you get up in the morning, your attitude sucks, you aren't going to be able to concentrate and your effort's going to be bad. I mean, we can go right down the road and spin that around. So, you know, you get up in the morning, your attitude's good, and my attitude's good in the morning. I want to get up in the morning now. The last year that I had mayor, it was tough.
Sure.
It was tough. I mean, it was me.
Yeah.
You know, I'd pay the bills. I'd do the payroll.
Yeah.
I'd look through the jobs. I'd do this. I'd do that. I was the click, the spectrum, the Acu. I was everything.
You wore lots of hats.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In my brief experience, I've only worked with a couple of teams in North Dakota on a couple of different projects we've had. And one of the challenges there is availability of local labor.
Yeah.
Not the quality, because every guy that I saw, every gal that was there, holy crap.
Yep.
Those are good electricians.
Yes.
What do you want to say to invite all of these budding electricians listening to this podcast, one of the top 100 podcasts of all time ever?
Time's amazing.
How do you get more folks to become electricians in North Dakota?
What we've done with the state electrical board is the electricians out of Canada. Their license is not the same. It is, but it isn't. So we've had them take a qualifier test to write their North Dakota state exam. Once they do, we give them a test.
Yeah.
And so there we've been able to bring some people, and it's all about recruitment.
Yeah.
Bottom line. And I told John and Ron this the first date we had. If Mare Electric would have put a call out at the Union Hall and Hunt Electric, just because Hunt Electric would fill the call. Here's why. Safety, the resource that the firm brings, and the project management as part of resource, and just the past history, and people know who Hunter Electric is. And sure enough, and nothing against when I had Mare, but do I want to work for Mare? It's an in-town, you're a shop rocker when you work for Mare, but when you work for Hunt, you know, and I do understand that. I get that. Mm-hmm. But what I've seen on the safety training, the first day that Hunt took me over, I'm going, I cannot believe this. I mean, we got a teams to have a teams, and we're going to have the next teams, and we got to have safety this, we got to have safety this. I'm going, this is a culture shock to me.
Yeah.
But however, once I got into it, I said, the old man gets it. I got it. I see. And walking into the office this morning and yesterday, I'm looking at the training rooms. I'm going, we don't have that in Western Nodak. We don't have that in North Dakota.
Yeah.
So safety, the resource of the project management, and all that comes into play. And the guys see that. Mm-hmm. These people want to work. And if they don't have material, eventually, attitude, concentration, effort, it goes south. But if they have the material, if they have, these people want to go to work. So that's the difference I see. I hope that answers your question.
We're recruiting Canadians.
Yeah. No,
we're bringing over Minnesotans.
Hey, good shot, eh?
Yeah. Putting a hockey team together.
Awesome.
We do have a Hunt hockey team.
Yeah. I see you do.
And we need some players. I like that. I like where you went with that.
Yeah, it's on LinkedIn and Facebook. Yeah.
Rod, I know we're about out of time here. Really appreciate you coming in.
Absolutely.
I know you had other business in town.
Yeah, I do.
But it was great to have you here and sharing some of your experience about North Dakota, about Mare, and frankly, shedding some light on government projects, the way that we interact with those, and the way the state electrical board's shaping some things.
Yeah.
Andrew, any parting comment?
No. Thank you, Mr. President.
Yeah, oh my.
All right, with that, we're out of here.
Okay, are we good? We're good.